Hi, this is Jordi from Agents at Work. Today we are with Bhavani and Arjun. Hi.
Hey Jordy, nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, hi Jordi and hi everyone.
Same, really excited about recording this with you guys. So, you are founders of Retrieval, that it's written like Retrieval but without any vowel. I will make sure I add this to the notes so people can follow the link.
Thank you, Jordy. Yeah, it's rtrvr.ai and it can automate your complex web workflows as well as retrieve structured data from the web.
Okay, so before we jump more into what you are building, something that I always do at the beginning is ask people what's an AI agent. This is what we do in this podcast, and until now, nobody has repeated the same answer. So I would like to know from both of you, what do you think that an AI agent is?
Yeah, so I would define an agent that helps you achieve a goal that you have. Uh, like either breaking into task, breaking into planning is essentially autonomously executing a goal is what I would define as like agent.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, I have more technical background, so my like definition is also a bit more technical. It's like the agent is having the layer framework around the underlying LLM that can represent the current state and action space of the environment you're trying to like get the LLM to interact with. So that's what I considered an agent.
Okay, I think that between both of you, like you got like a pretty good understanding of what an agent is and a really good explanation. But you went really technical there. What's your background?
Yeah, so I actually did pioneered vertical federated learning at Google. So training models where features and labels can't even be joined or be at the same place at the same time. And we launched and we trained on planet scale data, launched on billions of dollars of ad traffic. So very deep technical ML experience.
Okay, so you were back at Google and then you started doing federated learning. Opposed to what? Like, what were people doing before?
I think before it was just a classical training approach where you have the features and labels in a single record and you would just train a classical convolutional net model, but there might be privacy concerns or regulatory concerns of like having data joined together. So it also precludes some data that you want to train a model on, but you don't have the privacy guidelines to be able to do it.
Okay, so this is the idea of we are training like LLMs or any kind of convoluted network. And until then, like it was already distributed. So even Google, like you were using like many computers for that. But that's not what you started. Like the kickoff with you was saying like, well, what we're going to do is like there's not going to be only one system training the model, but it's going to be like through multiple systems that belong to different people or company. So they don't
It,
have to put together the data.
It was federated in a different sense of like, it is in terms of like, hey, we want data joined together from maybe Google search and maybe Google ads. And we want to train data, user data across both, but we shouldn't be able to join that data together. And so it allows new data columns you can use to train a model by being able to say give privacy like deadlines or guidelines like hey we can guarantee that less than like this 100 users won't have more specific user data than that. Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
model
here
won't learn individual user data, it will only learn like groups of 100. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. For me, usually federated, what I think is like, well, different companies, but Google is so big that actually different verticals of Google act as different companies. So they say, well, even in the same company, we cannot cross the data.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes
exactly.
sense. What year was that, more or less?
We launched last year an initial version, and it's still like a kind of research effort. So when I left, like in November,
Okay.
so in
And
research
then,
effort, there's still more progress to go.
yeah, for sure. Like this is it never ends. Like until now, I haven't seen any kind of research line that is like, okay, guys, we are done with this. There's always like room for improvement, and more if it's the beginning. Like usually, the beginning is when more progress you can do faster, and then it doesn't plateau, but there is like some efforts that are needed quite a lot for like keep improving the thing. Okay, and then you said that you left in November. Why?
Yeah, so when ChatGPT came out, it was a moment where it's like, oh, this is going to change everything. I need to learn about AI. I need to figure out what to apply it to. And me and Bhavani did a couple of hackathons where it's like we were trying to use LLMs to go on the web and retrieve data, like create data sets. Like a toy problem could be for every municipality in California, I want their audit file. And that requires me for each of those rows to do like 10-step action to get that PDF. And that was the toy problem we
Yeah, we want
solved.
to solve the problem of like a financial analyst that's going onto the web, getting the basically accounting reporting of like Mountain View municipality, San Francisco municipality, and so on, and then making a decision on the bonds of these municipalities. So there's like lots of steps or lots of like manual tedious work involved on the web. Now, how can we solve this leveraging the capabilities of LLMs, right? Like automatically going, clicking the municipality reports, getting that PDF, and using this PDF to generate structured data of what was the revenue, what was the losses, how to price the bond, so on. So we are trying to solve this problem, and when we solved it as part of these hackathons, we were like, okay, there's a lot of potential there's so much financial data out there's so much web tasks that people do. How can we automate all of them with our agentic backbone retriever?
That makes sense. So if in one hackathon you're able to solve that problem,
But
it's
it was
like
like 3 hackathons at least.
okay, but
We,
it kind
we
of
we
signals
iterated on it, yeah.
Yeah, we
it
like build in like
signals
chunks of it. Yeah.
yeah, it signals like now it's a good moment to leave my job because something is really changing and I am well positioned to take advantage of it. Because that it's a really important problem because I guess that until then, like before that, people were already like trying to get those reports. So at the beginning, there were people going to web pages, but then I guess there was some scraping going on too. But your
Yes,
solution was better.
they were actually outsourcing it to like a third world country for people to manually click through and construct these things. So we find that a lot. You either construct like an RPA bot that just breaks whenever the website changes, or you just outsource it. And this agentic solution would automate both of those.
Yeah. So usually when people automate things, they automate things that are really repetitive. Because the cost of automation was really high until like 3 years ago. And then it was cheaper to use people that have knowledge and say like navigate this page and they have the intelligence enough to say like download the report, even if it says like download this or download these files, they know that it means the report, and then bots are kind of silly for doing that. But then you use LLMs for this exact use case, right? Like they were going to pages and they were using something like CLI for accessing these pages, or they were in the browser.
So it goes both ways, right? The traditional scraping with Selenium and stuff, or even Puppeteer, Playwright, which people, some of the agents even use today, those are like CLI stuff. You run the command, run the like a code, chunk of code in your terminal CLI. And then there are some traditional scraping companies that are scraping via browser on the cloud. So parts of it have brought into the current world of web scraping and automation too. Yeah.
Our solution is just a Chrome extension that end users can use themselves and just with natural language, like, hey, go do this, add Jordy on LinkedIn, and it can go do that action. And we are planning on our own cloud endpoint for people to automate their tasks without their laptop being on.
Okay, so then it's an extension that you can install in Chrome. I don't know about Safari. Like it's one
Just
kind
Chrome
of
for now.
okay.
Yeah.
By now it's Chrome. Don't worry, most of the people are on Chrome right now. Then it's supposed to be used right now in the desktop. Perfect. So it's like a copilot. I guess that opens something similar to what Cursor does for your editor, but
Yeah.
for your browser. Excellent. Then you said that you can specify what you want to do. For example, add Jordi in LinkedIn. That, by the way, that's how I met you. Is that what you did? Like you went to your tool and said like add Jordi?
I actually did that manually. We should consider automating it maybe, but it does require a human touch on the messages. So that's the only concern that we have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as you've seen me earlier, yeah, whenever I go to networking events or pitch events in SF, all I show is like retriever, go add like Jody on LinkedIn. That's how I send requests to all of the people rather than going finding their profiles myself manually. Yeah, and it helps people be wowed by retriever as well as get them connected.
I think that there is a lot of wow factor here because most of the people have been using the browser in the same way for 15, 20 years. So they are used to how the browser works. They are like, we are really trained to things like what a button is, what is a slider, what's a form. You know, like our brain has been like trained for many, many years on how to write for search engines and how to interact with web pages. So I
So
think that it's really cool that you have an extension. So you are meeting people where they are right now. That is like, well, it's not like you run a script that launches a browser or something like that. It's like, well, no, people are going to have it where they are already now. And what it's going to change is that they can introduce text or voice or in the future, whatever, like maybe it's multimodal. And then you have kind of a copilot that is integrated with the browser that can see what you see and even more. And then it's able to take the same actions that you will be able to take. How does it able to see? Is this some kind of computer vision? You are parsing the page. How does it work when there is things like React?
Yeah, so underneath the technology behind Retriever is leveraging DOM representations of web pages. So if you look at competitors as like computer used by Claude or Operator, they all go via vision-based approach of taking screenshots of the page, finding the pixels, and we've seen like it's hallucinated a lot of times of going to the Yellowstone instead of this and that in the demos of Claude, right? So the approach we take is we represent the web pages, the HTML of the web pages in the most LLM optimized way, yet in an exhaustive way to cover all the information that's on the web page. That way, we don't have to take hundreds of screenshots for getting you like the data you want. With a single web page representation, we are able to extract the data you need. And two, it's almost no hallucination or very minimal hallucination with text compared to vision based approach of taking a screenshot and reading the text in the screenshot. LLMs are still not there yet to read it perfectly, extract perfectly.
Nice.
And also to just go back to what you were saying earlier about the web browser, we actually did a talk where it's like the title of our talk is "The Web Browser is Dead. Long Live AI Web Agents." So we definitely think just as the web browser is 30 years old, we are now in the era of AI web agents, and that is your how you'll interact.
Yeah, it like that's coming and it's already happening. So you are really, really at the edge of that, like at the vanguard. So for what I understand, then you parse so you hooked into with the extension into the browser, and then the browser, like imagine like someone who has never built an extension like myself. What I imagine is that they provide some kind of API. So when you are in a page, the extension asks for some kind of permissions. And then you say like, okay, yeah, this extension can read the page and can interact with it. I guess that you can do things like trigger JavaScript code and things like that. So you have both things, the representation of the HTML and also the JavaScript. So you know what kind of actions are there. So for you, clicking a button, it's not putting the mouse there and clicking. It's actually doing what happens when you put the mouse there and click it. The event that
Exactly.
sends in the okay, that's really, really cool. This is maybe new for a lot of people because maybe they have never worked like in the browser, or there are many people that are like ML engineers that don't know that much about the browser. So it's good for them to wrap their head around
And
this.
the benefits of this is within the browser, the background tabs don't get rendered. So you can't do actions across multiple tabs, but the JavaScript, the HTML is that option is still available. So with our extension, you could launch tabs in parallel or do actions across multiple tabs, which you straight up can't do with Operator. Operator
Okay.
can only do one window at a time.
So we are like a true co-pilot of you tell Retriever to do something on a tab, and then you can go work on a new window, new tab by yourself. So you're not blocked off your oh you have to see what it's doing or you cannot do other things. So it's like a true co-pilot of let it do it thing for you and you do other things you want. And yeah, once the result is done, yeah, you can use it.
Okay, yeah, if someone told me this 3 years ago, I would think that this is magic and we don't have the technology. So it's pretty crazy to say, like, it's not even research. Like, this is working right now. So you left in November, so you launch in December?
Yeah, we launched on Christmas Eve, which might not have been the best launch date, but we launched on Product Hunt then. We relaunched actually last week on Product Hunt our agent workflow exchange. So say I have figured out I've done one action on my Chrome extension on my with Retriever on my browser. I can then put it in the exchange and you can import it and run it on your laptop as well. So it's a cool new concept that we're trying out.
Yeah, so essentially, let's say you made Retriever go extract sales leads from LinkedIn, right? You told Retriever that get me name and a LinkedIn profile of this person, of like person working at a company and so on. Now, someone has done it and they can like put how they've done it with Retriever on our exchange. It's almost like templates, like a Notion templates. And then like you can quickly just you have to do is add it to your extension, and then you can quickly get into running off like the same sales lead extraction in no seconds. So we want to cultivate a community like Notion of people sharing their workflow templates and like reusing it and getting started with Retriever faster.
Okay, so I have questions here. This copilot that lives in your browser can only interact with the page that you are in, or you said that it can open like multiple tabs. So in reality, I can interact not with the page I'm in, I can interact with the internet. Is that
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Excellent.
Exactly. So, yeah, you can do like a actions or data extraction at scale, right? So, for example, you have like 100 Crunchbase companies. You wanna get information about the companies. You can open all those URLs with Retriever and yeah, get the data.
Even more than that, you can set up functions or APIs you want to call as functions. And you could just, with natural language, just say, hey, add this person's LinkedIn as a CRM entry. And if you add that CRM function, our LLM would automatically construct that argument, execute it, and it's just done with you just typing a sentence in the browser. So we're uniting the worlds of APIs and web UIs together.
An agent. So it's even better because it's not like I have to program that thing. I can
Yes.
say what I want and it just happens. Okay,
Yes.
that's pretty impressive. So to make sure that I understand this, you have this copilot. You are able to write there and it's able to, like control everything in your browser. Arjun mentioned more than once data extraction. Is this like what people ask the most right now for this kind of tools?
Yeah, so we're trying to compete against other tools that people might be familiar with, like Browse AI or Bardeen, where with these other tools, you have to like click on these elements and be like, I want this. Like you just have to click on the elements and like manually script it to kind of extract this data to sheets. So there is a existing market for people like these. And we want to be able to just say with natural language, hey, extract this person's name, company, and education, and the it will just get automatically written to sheets for you. And so data retrieval is a very common problem we want to solve. And that is the origin of the name of the company, Retriever, to do data retrieval for you.
Okay, nice. But it's a such powerful tool that this may be only one of the few first use cases, right? Because something that I hate a lot, that I am sure that your extension can help me, and I'm going to install it like right away, is this idea of a lot of times I know what I want to do with the software. I just don't know how to do it. So imagine like I'm in GitHub and I say like I want to add a new person or I want to add this GitHub action. I just don't remember where to click around. And I have to go there and break my context because I already know what I want. Just add this person, invite this person to the repository. However, I need now to parse a website. I need to see, well, is it add? Is it invite? Is it, like, why do I care about all of this? I just want to add this person to this repository. If I say that to someone else, they know exactly what to do. So it's good that now machines can do it too.
Yeah,
This is
so
thanks to the LLM being able to have common sense and do like the reasoning engine,
Yeah, totally.
quote unquote. Are people already using it this way, or they are mainly like trying to say like, well, extracting data, it's such a big market already that people are not imagining what can be done, and they are more focused on, well, we can do what we were already doing better.
First, to answer the extraction part. So, if you look at even the data extraction industry, or call it traditionally scraping industry, that's already almost like $6 billion industry. And if you look at AI agents, it's like more than 50 billion expected in like 2030 or so on. So there's already a huge need for data extraction. And the traditional data extraction methods of using Selenium or Playwright, this or that, works only on specific websites. Will not work dynamically on various websites, or they break as the website changes. Websites changes all the time. Now, how can we solve this with intelligence, with agentic intelligence of information might not be on the first page. Maybe you need to go 3 pages deeper. Maybe you need to deep crawl, deep scrape. Now with Retriever, yeah, it intelligently understands with LLM capabilities the trajectory it needs to take, which page to click, which button to click, and then scraping the data at the right point and giving it to you.
I think
Okay, go
to
ahead.
go a little bit side toward like the use case you're mentioning of kind of just using Retriever to summarize DOS or like docs or understand how to use a product is like people are using it for that. And we actually guide it, like we if they're typing in some command and it's like not expected, the agent actually takes the user to the Retriever docs and takes them to the page that explains like what they need to do and summarizes it for them. So it's also really efficient at like explaining how to use software.
Yeah, that's great, and it's something that before could not be done. So this idea of the software itself telling you like, excuse me, sir, this is not what you want. You should do it this way. And I am sure that with a bit of a tweak, it doesn't even have to tell me read the docs and introduce it correctly. It can actually correct me. And this is something that happens a lot with my co-workers, like my colleagues at work. And they are much better than I am. So every time that I do something, they already don't only explain it to me. They're like, okay, let me tell you exactly what you have to put there. So for first time, we really have like smart computers. I remember in 2010 or so, like the word smart was added to everything. Then I went to the US and I saw that there was smart water. I was like, well, maybe this is a bit too much. But finally, we're going to be able to have like really like smartphones that are smarter than the owner. Excellent. So right now, you say that they are retrieving data. Where does that data go? So it goes to a web page, they extract it. Okay, where does it get
Yeah,
stored?
we want to make it pretty easy for a lot of like day-to-day business users. So we're writing the data directly into Google Sheets. We've like spoke with bunch of users like, oh, I'm extracting the leads and putting copy pasting in my sheets and stuff. So at this point of time, the one main data source we're writing into is Google Sheets. But as Arjun was talking earlier with function calling, if you want the data to be written in your CRM, like HubSpot, or if you want the data to be written in your Snowflake database, wherever it is, with one single click tool integration, retriever can write the data at wherever you need it.
So we found
Great.
actually that the LLMs are not only good for data extraction, but like just to give it out as different representations. And we have an interesting feature, like you're on a page, you don't want to extract it, you just want to visualize it. You can just call our GraphBot function and it will just create an interactive graph within the Chrome extension. And it's crazy the capabilities you can do with these things. And like if you know what they're really good at.
This is a really good point, and I tweeted about it last week, and I didn't get like any good response. And it's like, why there are not more people working on generative UI? So they are saying like with tool calling, the LLM is smart enough to decide what to use, like what workflow it needs to do. However, when it gets presented, it's again a developer that says like, this is a table, this is a card, this is a carousel of pictures. It's like, well, if they are good for one thing, they may be good for the other. So I can't wait to go and, install the extension and check what kind of visualizations you can do there. But this is just hinting how powerful your approach is. For you, it's already natural because you follow this route. But you're saying that it can extract the information from the whole internet because it's in the browser. It's not like from one app, it's from the whole internet. Then the second thing was like, well, where does it store it? And then you say, well, we use Google Sheets. Well, remember, you're in a browser. There is an infinite amount of apps for doing stuff. So for sure, whatever you can do, this assistant can use too. And then the third thing that it's even better is like, well, from all the tools that you could choose, usually you are consuming them from the browser. So they already have your credentials, it has your cookies, etc. So the assistant itself is able to connect with the tool that you are using as if you were the one using it with your credentials and interact with, like the state that it's already in that app. So I think that so far, everyone who is trying to follow this approach through APIs or through spinning up new browsers, they hit with some problems like this because they say like, well, what do you use? Do you use like Microsoft Documents or do you use Google Sheets? And then you have to configure it every time. But with your extension, I guess that it's just right there. Do you have access to things like the history of what pages you have already visited so you know where to go to put my extraction notes, or by default I need to say where I want it?
Exactly. So one of the best things of being a true copilot or extension in your browser, our retriever knows what you're usually used at visiting, or let's say your Google search results or any website search results that are personalized to you. Retriever sees that and gets it done for you. So that's the best point of being an extension in the browser.
But to be exactly clear, it's that like if you go to Google search, it will be personalized to you. We're not storing any history ourselves. It is just that when you go to the website, it's already personalized on your browser.
Yeah. So it's really like having an assistant. Like if I had a person, it's like, this is my computer, help me doing stuff. That's you as an app.
Exactly.
Cheaper, faster, and better than I can do it myself. What
Yeah,
about the speed?
yeah, this is actually about to be, we're thinking the same thing. I was just about to say, we're actually 4 times faster than Operator. So it's like the benchmarks in the AI agent space is very challenging because the websites change. Like the questions they have in the evaluation metrics are no longer reliable. Like they can't be done like physically. So people benchmarks, they throw out different questions and they're just kind of like unreliable and they might do some offline processing and it might take like 10 hours to do this benchmark. So there's a different ways to game it. But the one that's taking off on the internet is doing a classic Wikipedia game of going from one Wikipedia page to an end Wikipedia page. So say from bananas to quantum mechanics. And there's a bunch of different people putting their web agent to put it to the test of doing this. And we tested ours is like 4 times faster than Operator at this class. Like this is like you have to actually figure out like good ways to benchmark things, not just like abstract like research papers.
Nice. Does it have any like big overhead? So when I install this extension and I start asking for stuff, by default, if I open 3 tabs in my computer, it starts like sweating. Well, now
Yeah.
not anymore because I switched to Mac. No, but for a while I was like, wow, this Chrome thing, it's really, really like resource intensive. How is it with the extension? Does it get worse or is it exactly the same?
So we are proud to say that we're one of number one, the smallest memory footprint extension in this space. I think we are around like under 500 KB at this point of time. So we are such a small memory footprint on your Chrome. And on top of it, we do understand this problem of when being in your browser, we want to limit the number of tabs that can be opened at the same time. So we specifically put this as a setting configured by the user where you can limit based on your device type and comfortness. You can say that open only 2 at a time or maybe open 10 at a time. I have a bigger machine. So it's up to the user to configure it so we are not overloading.
To be clear,
Nice.
this is for the when you want to launch from a URL a new tab to do some background processing. Like either you have like a Google Sheet column of URLs, or like you could be on LinkedIn and you're like apply to all of these shops on the page, and it would apply with 5 new tabs at a time, for example. But I myself, I have over 1,000 tabs open at any given time, and I have like multiple versions of the extension installed because I have to develop it. So it has not been a problem at all.
What about models? Like, what does the extension does in the device versus what gets sent out and it's processed in the cloud? So, like works with any device.
Yeah. So number one, the models we use in terms of it, we are supporting like a family of Google Gemini models, like the latest Gemini models of 2.0 to like thinking and so on. And like two, we are not storing any of the user data. Even the login stuff with Retriever is through Google. It's just as like your like Google integrated login. So we're not storing any of this extracted data or any of the user credentials or anything on Retriever storage. Whatever interaction with the LLMs or models as such, that's the only thing that's in place.
But yeah, so there is some processing in our backend, of further processing of the page, and then we submit it to the LLM. And we found that Google Gemini's Flash models are super quick. They're a game changer for everyone in the industry. And not only are they quick, they're super cheap. The Google Gemini's usage, we can charge less than like zero point 0.2 cents per page interaction or like extracting a page, and you can have 2 million tokens with them. So you can have like up to 10 tabs or more, like 15 tabs, like that the agent can do actions on in parallel. So like in one single request to the model.
Yeah, we have a feature where you can ask questions or extract data across 5 open tabs or so on. We call it as like Ask Retriever. Yeah, you can like process data across all the 5 tabs at once because of the high context limit for Gemini.
This sounds really, really useful because most of the time after my third tap, I get lost. So this idea of being able to ask the model, sorry, what was I doing? And being able to say what task I was in, it's pretty, pretty handy. So you unpacked a lot of stuff there. So the first one is Google Gemini Flash 2.0, and then the thinking models and the other ones. So most of the people in the industry, like this was invented at Google. It was not productivized in the best possible way, or at least it didn't go mainstream. Then OpenAI releases GPT. People are start losing their mind. That's what happened to me. I saw it. I was like, holy, like this AI thing, it's real. It's not anymore, is this a cat or a dog? It can actually do everything. And then people say like, well, Google is really losing the war. They are left behind. And then they said like, no, we are not. Here is BART. You're like, what the hell is BART? Now people still don't know because there is no BART anymore. But in the last year, they started coming out with more and more stuff that is actually pretty useful. And they have Logan, ex OpenAI, who is a great guy for product and it's doing great things at Google. So you started using Gemini because you were at Google and you were used to the models. So you already knew how good they were.
It's the
Yes.
confidence in the Google research as a whole. We are true believers in Google, not just we worked at Google as such. We believe in the research and the great amount of work led by Google.
We
Nice.
also have Google Cloud startup credits. It's kind of free for us to use the Gemini model, so that's we might be biased a little bit.
Yeah, that always helps. Like everyone is going to give you credits. Like if you have a good startup right now, they want to hook you. They say like, well, whatever growth is happening, we want it in our platform. The good thing is that you know that Google is going to be able to handle it without having to raise money anytime soon. So that's something that gives you confidence. And now, like they really with the Flash 2.0 and 2.0 thinking, you can see how important it is like pricing and speed. And when I am doing things in the browser, there's already a lot of overhead on parsing JavaScript and downloading the page itself. So, like not adding to that because it's pretty quick on your side, it helps quite a lot. Because I guess that the same thing applies. This old test from Amazon that increasing loading time makes you like lose the interest in the page. That applies when you are using an assistant, but you are not adding any overhead there because of the speed. It's just a rounding error. Something else that you also noticed was that you can extract information based on per page, zero point 0.2 cents per page or something like that. Something that
Yeah,
is like
exactly.
really little. How does this compare with the rest of the industry? Like you said, like it's a $6 billion industry. It's really big. Companies have been scraping data on the internet forever. So do you know how this compares on the pricing? Like, is it actually cheaper?
So we know other web agents in the space, how much their pricing is. It's usually like 0.05 cents per page. So sorry, 5 cents per page or like 10 cents per page. So it's an order of magnitude difference with what we can offer with our web agent.
So there are a bunch of other places in the space as browser use, Skyvern, Convergence Proxy, and so on. We like compare the price of some of the competitors, as Arjun mentioned, 5 to 10 cents, whereas Retriever is like 0.2 cents.
Do you think that it helps to do it in the client side? So this idea of there is a lot of compute that people have in their MacBooks that is not being used. Do you think that this lowers your bill and then you're able to pass this to the client? And other people who say like, no, let me run it in the cloud, they are going to benefit from doing things at scale, but actually they have to pay the bill at the end of the month.
I think so. That is a huge factor in the cost difference as well, in addition to our optimized representation of the page. But yeah, and we ourselves are planning a cloud offering within the month as well. We're going to launch on Product Hunt. So check it out. Our API and cloud endpoint, so you can automate stuff without your laptop being on. And it is a challenge. You have to figure out completely different things of hosting a browser within the cloud environment. And most websites are blocked in the cloud environment because like they don't want you scraping their websites from like some server. They want actual users. So you have to figure out a lot of things, and think we have some interesting ideas on how to solve this problem using a combination of like the Chrome extension as well.
Nice. I know that operator usually asks you, are you a human? Sorry, there is a captcha here. Can you help? And actually click the button, which is really funny because for people who are not technical, they don't see the difference. They say like, how are you able to do everything? And out of the blue, they ask you like, click here if you are not a robot, and then you're not able to do it because they don't see difference between purchase and click and I am not a robot. So for you, because you are using the browser with the user, maybe in another tab, I think that that's something that for companies it's hard to catch. Like there is no difference between you're both doing things in my browser as long as I am doing things on another tab.
Yes, exactly. And it allows you to parallelize your actions as well. So before you would have to like set up like a script to do these automations and you have to like launch a Playwright browser instance on your terminal or like in the cloud. But like now with just natural language, you can do it within your own browser. And
Yeah, it's as if you are navigating the web rather than some like bot doing it. And we are aware of all these like captchas in place. And we have one more configuration where users can set the delay between each page opening or so. So that pages can be opened slower or faster. Or if there's some website that's like old and slow, that you give some more time to it for it to load. So all these are very configurable to get you the best results.
No idea about how fingerprinting works here. So I don't know how they block you. Like I guess that they are getting some random data, but I don't know if it's at browser level, if it is at page level. So how does this work? Like most of the time, like the typical Cloudflare that says like, well, are you a bot or not? These captcha things from Google, are they per browser and they just get entropy from the movements that I do? Or they are measuring how many requests you do per second and things like that too?
so I think when you on your own browser are like making these requests to a website, the website usually using Cloudflare would like be like, all right, this IP with this like user agent and this, so all of these browser settings kind of, right? It's like, hey, this is a unique user and this guy is doing like 1,000 requests at us. This is definitely not a human clicking on the internet. So that's how they usually detect you. But if you keep it minimal, like 100 tabs or 100 requests, or like they with the Chrome extension of our approach, then it's usually not detected. But if you are like operator and you have like a cloud server and that's making all these requests and they just block those cloud IPs, first of all, and if you somehow get through, then they like are like you now have like 1,000 browsers in your servers making these requests. And then they can still detect, hey, these are all together and this guy's like sending them all at the same time.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I guess that they try to fail safe. So, like you said, like 100 times per second clicking on a button. But I am sure that there are people that when they are trying to purchase tickets for the Taylor Swift concert or something, they may be detected as bot or something
Yeah,
just
a
like.
lot of these websites have their own inherent logic. LinkedIn might have like a different logic. And recently, Google also launched changes for adding like a JavaScript code to detect this usage rate or like the speed at which people are clicking stuff to yeah prevent the crawling as such. So it's like a combination of factors, as you mentioned.
And
Nice.
these detections go the other way. I actually got blocked from LinkedIn for a while. Just manually, I had too many LinkedIn tabs and I had to like raise a support ticket.
So you question yourself, am I a bot or not? Like when
Yeah.
that happens, I am really, really happy because you have so many tabs open and then you will be able to automate that for me. So, like I don't have to go through the same path. Right now, people, what are they asking in your product? Like, what do you think that it's the next thing that you want to implement and people are not requesting, but you think that it's going to be big? And what are the things that they are asking, like, please, we need like bigger limits. I don't know if you have some kind of tiers there or pages that you're not compatible with, etc.
So our long-term vision is we want to set it up in a way that you and me, like across the world, can collaborate on constructing a data set together, right? So say we want to like I do some X work on my browser, you do some X work on your browser, and together we retrieved some information and we can create this useful like data set that better understands the world. And it's pretty it would be free kind of like it's at cost and currently you're going to have to set up like all these scripts and like it's not worth the effort but one of our immediate things we're getting requests from is like, hey, make this support on Instagram or like other social media like things like I need to automate like replying to these people or like clicking doing these DMs. So more website support or like edge cases is what we are seeing requests from.
Yeah, and as you know, as we are targeting more B2B, definitely the first question is, do you have an API? So by the end of this month, we're planning to like support the API and on the cloud processing. If you look at traditional, when you want to convince the traditional scraping industry to use the new agentic stuff, they still want to do it like on the cloud via API. And yeah, those are the things we are leaning on to building it pretty soon.
for the things that you already explained, like you're going really, really fast, which is good in this time. Like you are putting out there a lot of stuff, and many of them seem like really, really good ideas. So you said something about exchange, that it was something like recipes, right? Like you are able to automate a workflow, and then most of the time the LLM through text is able to do it, but sometimes I can kind of record me doing it, and then
Yes.
they are going to be able to trigger it. Like, do they see it as a hint, or how does that work?
We have this first of a kind kind of recording setup we figured out that it's like for complex actions, you have like 20-step action, right? Like go to here, log in here, fill out this form, and now do this like 1,000 times. For these, you could record yourself doing it once, and we record like the elements you're clicking on the DOM and use that as guidance to the model when it's about to do it. Hey, it's usually figured like with just one recording, it's pretty grounded and it can figure out the next like 1,000 times very easily. So this recording is for like kind of RPA use cases. Instead of setting up like a RPA script, you could just record yourself doing it and give the LLM some instruction.
Yeah, you can either repeat the same thing or else make LLM do similar things. Say, for example, you showed how to shop on Amazon. Now, using that recording, you can ask our agent go shop on Walmart or something else.
And
This
within the
is crazy.
exchange, you could give this out to other people for them to try out and use themselves. So we're hoping to monetize this as well in the future, where you should be able to charge some X credits and like users can pay for it, but that's a little bit further in the pipeline.
This is really, really interesting. So it's going to be like a marketplace of, do you know The Matrix when Neo learns Kung Fu? That he just,
Yeah.
it's right there and it's like, okay, so I just plug this in. Now I know Kung Fu. And because someone already coded how Kung Fu works.
Yeah, that's
So
a great
with
analogy.
your tool, it's going to be the same. Like people are going to just put recipes there and
Yeah.
they are going to be able to learn Kung Fu.
Yeah.
And
They
then
can
you
do it
say
right
that
now.
you may be willing to monetize these in the future and maybe like give something to the user that created or something like that. Um, do you see yourself as a product company or more as an infrastructure company? Because to be fair, like from my point of view, just learning about your company, it has so many use cases that it's going to be hard to get them all if you are a product company versus if you just create infrastructure and you just say like, okay, so B2B, do you want to automate workflows? Here it is. Agentic commerce, do you want to purchase stuff? Here it is. Managing your media, how do you see yourself?
Yeah, definitely. That's something we were asked a lot of times. We do want Retriever to be your universal web agent that can work on any niches of all those things you mentioned of like marketing stuff, outreach stuff, or like your traditional scraping stuff. So consider this as a platform that's providing all the universal data extraction with like a lot of these mini agent support of like your graph bot for graph generation, your PDF bot for like processing your PDF contracts, documents and stuff. So the specialized agents for different workspace needs as such, while like covering the web as a whole.
We're trying to target two kind of distinct markets. The everyday average consumer, like help them out a little bit, but really going after like small and medium businesses, startups, or like employee productivity, or people with like who actually it is they have to do these things and it is a huge drain on their time and cost.
You provide so much value for the end user that they may not notice. But something that it's like you can leverage quite a lot is that a lot of users are going to ask for the same. So there's going to be a lot of tasks that is like, well, I want to scrape this place or I want to get this kind of list. And everyone just wants the list. Like they don't want to do the work. They just want the list. So if the first one goes and actually creates a list, it's able to monetize it through your platform. And then other people, it's like, well, should I compute or should I buy? In many cases that there is a really, really long tail. So for sure, there's going to be a lot of, well, I have to go and scrape it. But there's going to be a lot of, well, there is some fresh data that a guy in India in the morning asked for in the evening in the West Coast. They can already purchase it. Like it's going to be faster and cheaper and everyone wins. Did you
Exactly.
see
We're
anything
trying
like
to
this or?
automate the long tail of knowledge work. Like, for example, I use it myself to like understand like, hey, I want a list of these Michelin guide restaurants that are open on like these dates with like this thing. So it can go through the pages, extract all of them, and extract the details of who's the chef, what is the top dish, and what is like the days open. And that's like 50, 100 tabs you have to open, right? And it did it for me. And but no one's ever going to build a scraper for Michelin. And I don't know, actually, maybe. But yeah, all of these random websites that is time intensive to scrape or like figure out how to interact with. You can just do it with us.
Do you see it living in the browser forever and it's always like the desktop one? Or do you imagine that people are going to do this from the phone too?
That's a good question. At this given point of time, yeah, usage on phone is still less, but yeah, that we do see it in the future. You know that this something cost effective for a day, like billions of users on their phones, but we do see it coming pretty soon.
I think for ourselves, we want to focus on productivity use cases.
Exactly.
And for those productivity use cases, people are on their laptop and being productive.
Makes sense. But to be fair, now that we have intelligence, I am really, really happy if I say like, oh damn it, I forgot to create that report and I need to drive and pick up my small girl from the school. And then if I had employees, I would just call and say like, listen, just make sure that that gets done. And I would go and pick up the person. And when I am back, I just review it. So I imagine that more and more people are going to be able to do productive things from their phone because they just trigger the task and then they review it later on or something like that.
Think if we have an app after the cloud endpoint and you could just interact with that, like, hey, kick off this workflow, that is probably something. But the browser within the phone, it is a little bit more complex.
Yeah. This is was like more like a long time because you are already in a market that has some competition. There is a lot of demand for it, so you need to focus on what it's working right now, and then we can live the dreams of how the world is going to change 2 years in the future for that future. So right now, people can only use it with text, or they can also talk to it.
It's purely texting right now. We do not have voice support because we've asked users, the ones that are automating like a business users, they generally wouldn't go with like voice commands of like extract this data from here and here. So right now we purely have like text based support. But we are multimodal in the sense that it can process images, extract images, thumbnails of YouTube videos, images of profiles as such. But audio is not supported right now.
So I have good news for you because the good thing of building in the browser and being in a desktop is that everything comes for free. So if they are using things like Mac Whisper, out of the blue, your app already has voice there. It doesn't have to be multimodal because you really don't take advantage of that. You just want some kind of transcription. But it's something that I would try to separate users in two buckets and do A/B testing because something that I have noticed a lot is that when I speak to my computer, I engage much more because I can just go into a rumble of, like all this is what it's important. And then there is some pre-processing and it's like, well, from all these things, what are the core ideas? And then that gets passed to the LLM that has to compute it. And I am sure that it's going to be really, really useful for your tool. And it's not something that you have to build. So in a way, if they ask you, like, do you already have voice integrated? You say, well, actually, if it's in the computer itself, the answer is yes. So, like just to see if people engage more or not. For sure, that's how I plan to use it.
Yeah, we're open to feedback all the time, supporting users in every way possible. So, yeah, why not?
Excellent. So for anyone listening to this, who are you targeting? How they can know more about you, and what's the best way to start?
Yeah, like I would put it pretty straightforward of like if you are like a marketer or a salesperson, like looking to generate leads or send bunch of automations like emails, LinkedIn outreach, everything can be automated with simple workflows on Retriever. Yeah, do check it out at rtrvr.ai, like data retrieval. That's it.
Yeah, and so rtrvr.ai, no vowels. We needed to minimize the token length. Please check it out. You can just play around with it. We have a free tier that is very generous because we're very efficient at what we are doing. So if you want to tinker with it, go for it.
Excellent. So I will make sure that I put that there. It was a pleasure talking with you both. And we will follow, like maybe in 6 months, because now the world is moving really, really fast, how far you are ahead. Maybe like in 6 months, you already have that mobile app. And, like everyone, like this idea of a scraper that just puts it in one place and it's shared, it's already built. So far, in what you have built in the last 3 months, it's pretty, pretty impressive. So I would not be surprised in 6 months, you are like much more ahead.
I appreciate it.
Excellent. So see you soon.
Thank you. See
Thank
you,
you.
Jordy, in 6 months.